Greetings, Dragon Ball fans, and welcome to part 2 of What If Raditz Recognized Piccolo, where Raditz knew something about Namekians, if only by description, and after calling Piccolo out on being an alien of that green, pointy-eared persuasion, he finds himself abandoned to his fate by his boss, Prince Vegeta, who is heading straight for the source. Previously, Raditz's meet and greet with Piccolo dug up some strange feels for the Saiyan dog's body. What he knew of those people was limited to some old archives he'd read while bored out of his mind, waiting for his next mission, but it had been a bit more than he had bargained for. Their world was apparently almost destroyed, and they were marked for a special kind of extermination. The reigning Frost Person's survey team had decided that patience was all that was needed to see that planet devoid of intelligent life, as there didn't seem to be any viable way for the Namekians to continue their species. When Raditz finds himself stuck between a full Nelson and a special beam cannon, he hears Vegeta's decision to cut out the middleman and head straight to the source, to go directly to Namek to wish for immortality for himself. Vegeta, for one, doesn't give a hoot what happens to his minion. I wonder if Nappa's taking any notes. Another Namekian, Kami, then shows up and doles out a brief ray of hope. With things happening too quickly, Raditz doesn't really think to ask about the possibility of Earth's Dragon Balls, but there is a ship in the offing. However, Kami then vanishes, taking Piccolo with him, but the Bulma woman remains, along with the decrepit Roshi, and she turns out to have a bit of a knack for technology, as she manages to get the scouter to power back on, if only momentarily. They arrive back at that island again, and Bulma sets to work, poking, prodding, and maybe even some cursing. When she offhandedly asks Raditz to pass her a specific chunk of pod that she'd brought with them from his landing site, he tears his eyes away from what she's doing and just kind of stares at the junk pile on the floor. "Oh, really?" she says in a huff. "High-tech alien space warriors, and you don't know what a capacitor is?" She digs through the pile for a second before finding what she's after, and then shoves it onto the scouter's mainboard. A moment later, Raditz can see the little screen quickly cycling through the boot sequence. She does some more tinkering and sits back as the characters on the screen change somehow. "And done," Bulma announces, and goes to put the thing on her face. Raditz is about to demand the thing from her when she taps it and looks at him. 1300, huh? Is that good?" she asks. It seems that having the wind knocked out of him by that kid had done more damage than he'd thought. Roshi then says to check his power, so she turns to him and reads 139. Haha, a tenth! The Roshi guy doesn't seem to appreciate this, but Bulma smiles and says something about him being able to go even higher. Saying he'll be right back, the old codger stomps as best his feeble old body can manage, and heads outside. Bulma heads to the window, and when Raditz doesn't follow, she waggles a finger at him to come and join her, and says to watch this, as it's pretty impressive. Outside, that Roshi guy takes off his shirt, revealing a body way more feeble than a power level of 139 should allow, and he starts to flex and strain a bit sadly, in Raditz's opinion. Then Roshi shouts something, and Raditz can't believe what he's seeing, as the man becomes a massive wall of muscle. He's suddenly gone from a scrawny wisp of a man to being at least the size of Nappa. How? How had his muscles grown so much? How had his bones? Questions for later. "What's his power level now?" Raditz asks, genuinely curious. 209, Bulma says, after tapping the scouter a few times. Hearing that, Roshi relaxes, and shaking his head, he heads back inside, probably to go and sulk. Not that Raditz had expected too much, but still, imagine being able to boost your power by 50% without having to even worry about going ape. That would be almost 2,000 for him? A nice little boost when it came down to it. It might even be more effective for him, given that Raditz is in his prime, relatively speaking. Well, enough of these distractions. He asks Bulma for the scouter, but putting it on, he finds that he can't read it at all. What has she done to it? Oh, yeah, guess it might be hard to fix something that gives error messages in an alien language. Okay, well, numbers work the same here, right? Bigger numbers have more symbols, right? Great. He taps the scouter a few times, but finds nothing, so he throws the useless thing to the ground and heads outside, now also in a huff. After Bulma comes out and yells at him about possibly breaking her precious alien technology, she tells him that it's not broken. See, it's not reading nothing. It can read him, that Roshi guy upstairs in his pathetic 139, and after he puts it back on again and turns it on this Bulma woman, it comes up with a nice small number. "What does that say?" he demands. "Only 2 symbols? Pathetic." Okay, so best not to push that button, it seems. But then, what gives? There's no one else in range with any real power? Not Kakarot, not that Piccolo guy, or that little kid. Where is everybody? Kami's lookout. Kami, that's the guy he needs to see about those Dragonball things, and then the ship. Where's the lookout? Can she take him there? No. Okay, well, then what direction is it in? No need, a voice says from behind them, and Raditz whirls to see a large round man, with skin that strangely doesn't seem to reflect any light at all. Even Bulma is a bit terrified of this guy, but he calmly introduces himself as Mr. Popo. Unable to turn away from this apparition, Raditz asks Bulma quietly just what this guy's power level is. Bulma puts the scouter back on and reports 1030. What? Over 1000? Raditz splutters, finally able to break eye contact with this Popo being. How had the scouter missed a reading like that? And, more importantly, if Kakarot and Piccolo knew techniques that multiplied their power by as much as they had, what could this guy do? Popo's unreadable expression does absolutely nothing to soothe Raditz's slightly rustled jimmies. Ignoring, or ignorant of their apprehension, Popo goes on to explain that before departing for Otherworld, Kami asked him to show Bulma his old ship to try and get it fit for a human inhabitants. Raditz is equally irritated and relieved by this news. Kami and Piccolo are now both on another planet somehow, so their Dragon Balls are lost to him. But the ship is still here, almost within reach, so Namek might not be. So, Raditz says slowly, you need to go to this Namek place, do you? Well, yeah, we need to warn them about your friends, Bulma says. Then, after a moment, looking him up and down, why, do you want to come too? Well, no, he'd rather get his hands on Earth's Dragon Balls, but since those two Namekians are long gone now, he doesn't seem to have much of a choice now, does he? Oh, well, that's kind of you to offer, he says. It's not like I've got anything better to do, so yeah, I guess I could come along to warn the Namekians about Vegeta and Nappa? Yeah, that's it, he laughs awkwardly. Besides, I'm already from space, so surely you'd benefit from my expertise in that regard. One magic carpet ride later, and Raditz is feasting eyes on... Oh, what a piece of junk. Bulma and Popo approach the dilapidated ship, and after saying that other Namekian's name, they head inside. Well, at least it's still vaguely functional. Raditz then walks around the outside inspecting his prize, before being blown off his feet as the ship launches straight up into the sky and vanishes from sight. He sits there, where he landed, and is mid-sentence cursing his bad luck at having his ship stolen out from under his nose, when said ship drops straight back, settling down not even a hand's width from where it was. When the lift opens, he flies up into the ship to head off right now, but his excitement is ruined by the controls. Another completely alien language. He calls out demanding his scouter, but Bulma says she left it at Roshi's. Wait, it doesn't even output in Galactic anymore, does it? Useless mud-hut earthlings, he mutters under his breath, before continuing on to lament all the bad choices this stupid human woman has made in her life. But the expression on her face brings him up short. Okay, she doesn't like being called stupid. Damn it, just a little bit longer. That's all he needs her for. Hopefully she can get these incomprehensible controls working in his language, like she got his scouter working in hers. 6 agonizing hours later, the transport sets down, and... Wait, this isn't Roshi's Island. Where are they now? Capsule Corp. Okay. Oh, this is Bulma's home. He's seen better. Who's that old geezer? Her dad. Well, hello, Bulma's dad. Is he going to start working on the ship too? Oh, great. When will they start? What do you mean tomorrow? Why not today? Why not right now even? They should work through the night if they have to. Or, not, because it's not like he's in a massive hurry or anything. Besides, he's the one doing them a favor, isn't he? Offering to come with them. Yeah, he's just along for the ride as extra muscle if they run into any space undesirables. When he comments that if only his pod hadn't been so thoroughly destroyed, Bulma's father, one Dr. Briefs, is as interested by the mention of space pods as he is in the ship before him. But they're still going to start in the morning, after a meal and a good night's sleep. Raditz is then halfway through his third main course, when Bulma admits aloud that he is definitely related to Goku. He certainly eats as much as Goku does. Well, yeah, Saiyans love to eat, everyone knows that. Speaking of Saiyans, Dr. Briefs says, do you suppose Goku came in a pod like yours? Between mouthfuls, Raditz manages a yes, of course he did. How else would he? Oh, A working pod! Somewhere out there is a functional Saiyan attack pod. He drops the oversized chunk of meat he was chewing on and digs around in his armor for the control pad. He eventually fishes it out, or at least what's left of it. It's cracked, and none of the buttons are working anymore. God damn it. He's about to throw it away when he stops and stares at it for a second, then turns to Bulma, and with an almost pleasant smile on his face, he offers her the small piece of amazing alien tech. Very casually, he asks if she could do anything to fix it. But that's it, just fix. No translate, no testing. The pods all have self-destruct functions, just in case, so don't go pushing any random buttons. After one of the best night's sleep he's had in, well, as long as he can remember, Raditz wakes up and heads out to find that Bulma woman. He wanders around the Capsule Corp building looking for her and her father, anyone that looks familiar. After what feels like an hour, he's beginning to think he's still asleep. This doesn't make any sense. He'd seen the building from the outside. There's no way it was this large. Eventually, he finds that blissfully happy-looking servant lady who'd brought them their dinner last night, and asks where he can find the Bulma woman. Directed to the main lab as the woman admires his plentiful hair, he finds Kami's ship in several pieces, along with what can only be the shattered remains of his own pod. The father is crawling around inside the Namekian ship, while the daughter is plugging random bits of pod into a terminal. The next 2 weeks are so excruciatingly boring that Raditz does the only thing he can to take his mind off of the time slowly dribbling through his fingers, and offers to help them fix the ship. No, he's not a tech or anything, not that Saiyans can't do techie stuff, it's just never been his calling, not with his power level. Still, he can lift heavy things and translate, and midway through the second week, start to comment about how Vegeta and Nappa are going to beat them there at this rate. Oh, no, they won't, Dr. Briefs calls out from somewhere inside the Namekian ship. When Raditz asks what he means, the man crawls out of the ship and says that this thing can get there in about a month, so stop complaining, there's plenty of time. Besides, they need to wait for Goku and company to get back from whatever it is they're doing with that Kami guy. No, they don't. They need to, warn the Namekians, and quickly. When asked why, Raditz flounders for a bit, then hits on something good. Oh, yes, that's a great idea. Well, you see, Vegeta and Nappa aren't the biggest problem, he says conspiratorially, and he recalls the last time he had seen the Emperor. It's Lord Frieza, Raditz says as a shiver runs down his back at the memory. He, or one of his minions, will most likely have heard everything Vegeta and I have said. He trails off, now having brought his own idea through to its logical conclusion. Oh crap! Why hadn't he thought of this earlier? Of course Frieza would get wind of his and Vegeta's comments. The Scouters are, or were, all connected. Some tech somewhere would absolutely have been listening in, and if he had to bet, Kiwi would be on the case too. He was in charge of the Saiyans after all, and would be held responsible for them going off mission. Raditz's happy smile at the thought of Kiwi having to face Frieza's wrath vanishes the instant it forms. That spineless brown nose will absolutely tell Frieza. Crap! Maybe even a basket of them. When the Namekian ship is finally being reassembled, Raditz is again stuck staring at foreign controls and buttons with illegible labels. They made it into their, what did they call it? English? How is he supposed to fly the thing? Oh, Bulma is coming along. Well, that's just great. Will he ever be able to get away from her? No, it's just going to be him and her, alone in a cramped spaceship for a month. Yeah, great, that sounds like fun. Bulma's reaction to his tone is, as is often the case, not good. After she finishes berating him for his lack of appreciation, and he finishes backpedaling and not quite apologizing, they gather their supplies on the lowered platform and ascend into the ship. Raditz then looks around in shock. What the hell? There's no way this ship is this big. It's just like the rest of this damn building. The inside garden is larger than the outside building. By the third day of wandering around the place, Raditz had had to check. He'd walked the length of the garden and counted the steps. Then he'd gone outside and walked along the pavement outside the front of the building. The inside garden is 10 steps longer than the building, and the ship is only 7 steps long on the outside. He's lugged enough equipment back and forth these past weeks to know exactly how long the ship is, but inside, it's got to be at least that many steps from the platform to the controls. When he asks Bulma about it, she just smiles and says that it's pretty cool, huh? Her shrink watch tech was based on her dad's hoi poi tech, and, well, he's seen the building, hasn't he? Well, same stuff. Why do you think it took an extra week to fix up the ship? No way she's spending weeks on end in such a cramped space with nothing but his smelly self for company. And as Bulma tells him that his room is upstairs and points dismissively at a ladder that should really lead to the roof, then mumbles something about a Yamcha up and disappearing, we will bring Part 2 to a close. Things are looking up for the wayward Saiyan. He may have missed out on the Dragon Balls for now, but he has a ship, and they are about to head to Namek for theirs. With any luck, Vegeta and Nappa will be nowhere in sight, but Raditz is now painfully aware that there are bigger fish. Will Raditz and Bulma make it to Namek without strangling each other first? Has Kiwi been keeping on top of his charges and reporting to his Lord Frieza? Find out next time on Dragon Ball, What If Raditz Recognized Piccolo?